Hey guys, I'm Aaron from PhoneDog.com, and if you want a 4G Android QWERTY phone on Sprint, you used to be limited to the Epic. Not the case anymore. The HTC EVO Shift 4G is out of the market now. Even though it has an 800 MHz processor, it's a pretty happening device, and it goes head-to-head with the original EVO, but it has that physical QWERTY keyboard. We're going to pit it up in a dogfight between the other 4G Android device, the Samsung Epic 4G. So it's EVO Shift 4G, Samsung Epic 4G. Which one will win? Well, we'll find out in the dogfight. Special thanks to our friends at Best Buy Mobile. They've hooked us up with two of these, that's 4. You know, I write about phones. Math is not my strong suit. 4 devices for use in our One Paw Bandit giveaway. When you go into Best Buy Mobile, you walk out working, so you can get one of these devices and they'll help you set it up. Enough of that. Which one will win? Because neither of these devices are stock Android devices, it's always fun to look at stuff like the phone application and see what's changed, you know, what HTC customizations have been made versus what TouchWiz customizations have been made. So you look at this and you see, you know, the contacts that I have in Old Man McTweety, and that's what it looks like on the devices. You have the typical Sense experience over here with your kind of square buttons, and then at the bottom you have number pad and you have call history as well. So you have that down there. And then you have, if you have missed calls, you'll see those right up here at the top, right before your contacts. And then when you go into here, go into here, you can see your call history, and then you can scroll over to online directories, groups, or all. So you get quite some great functionality from the phone app within itself. And then you have here, you have a little bit bigger numbers, mail application if you want to send a text message back, which this varies from one Galaxy S line to the other Galaxy S device. And then you can dial there. You have your call log, your favorites, and then your contacts here as well, which you can access. So you have some tabs up at the top. So just a little, you know, those minor things that define Sense versus TouchWiz. It's kind of cool to look at those. Let's take a look at Gmail, because it does actually change from Android 2.1 to 2.2, and because it's been so long since I've had a 2.1 device that I've put in a dogfight or reviewed, it's kind of nice to see the differences. Here's the new Gmail application, and you'll see when I go into something like Moto Blur, scroll up and scroll down, you have this new header. We'll go into it on this one too, just to show you the comparisons. First of all, you can see that the header itself looks different. Some different design changes, and you'll see that little shortcut, this little thing here, the favorites, the reply, and the option to do more is not on this one. So when you scroll down on the Epic, you lose the header. You can scroll through the email, and you have reply all, and forward at the bottom. Whereas with this one, it's the newer version. No matter where you are in the email, it sticks to the top. You can scroll up, you can scroll down, and then you don't have reply and forward and etc. at the bottom. You have it up here by clicking on the little button there. So you have reply all, and forward. And then you have archive, delete, and older at the bottom still, but they're stickied there at the bottom. So again, regardless of where you're at in the email, you'll see the header, you'll see those, and then you can go back to the top and reply all, or forward. And actually, I didn't realize you couldn't do it from there. Interesting. So we'll go back in here, and you can reply all, or forward when you're at the top. So you have that touch there. Take a look at the Android market as well, because I think it's updated on both of these devices to the new version of the Android market, which is what the Epic just popped up. Let's see if it pops up on the... Yeah, there it is. Okay, it's the new version of the Android market, and you can see it's just some minor design changes. Not a whole lot. The carousel's a little different here. And then you have your typical apps, games, and Sprint on both of these devices. The the carrier customized tab in the Android market. But the real touch here to me is when you put it in landscape mode. It's a nice design change. It just looks clean. It's organized. It's much better looking than the original market looked, and the transition effects seem to be just slightly better versus being kind of the bland mess that was the original Android market, or the last Android market. So you have the same stuff here. You can go into apps, and you can see all applications. And some minor differences. We'll go to top free, for example. Can't hold 2 devices in my hand at the same time. Yeah, I'm just not that good at it, you know. 2 cell phones, 1 hand, too much to do. Let's see. Google Maps update, now let's go to Pandora Radio. And you can see the option to install it. But you have your description there, and you can check more. You have reviews, you have related applications, developer info, so it's all in this one spot as opposed to being in tabs. And then of course you can install it, and you have to accept the permissions from this screen. So it doesn't pop up with that separate box saying, are you sure? Are you sure you want to accept? Are you sure? So it's a just a cleaner interface. Now where this one loses and this one gains, because this is running Android 2.2, you have the option to auto update your apps. So which, you know, may not be a big deal for you, but when you have 20 or 25 apps installed on your device, it can be a pain to update them individually. With this one, if you have the checkbox checked on the Shift 4G, it'll automatically update your apps for you. So let's say Pandora, you know, an update comes out, you have that box checked, you'll see the downloading icon here in the top left-hand corner. It'll download, you'll be good to go. So it's just one of those things to save some time, make it a little bit easier on you, and you can do that in any device that's running Android 2.2, as opposed to this, since it's on 2.1, that option's not available just yet. You also have app sharing, as I showed you earlier on this one, and then you have the ability to save your apps on SD card. So not to get into that too much, but you can go into applications, manage applications, and you can see which ones are on your SD card. So you can do that as well. So some minor stuff that's on Android 2.2 that's not, you know, for the average user, probably not going to care, but if you're anything more than an intermediate Android user, you might want to look into the device that has Android 2.2 out of the box as opposed to Android 2.1. So both of these phones have a 5 megapixel camera with a flash, and let's go ahead and jump into those. Obviously on the display, this one's going to look better because it's 4-inch display, so it's larger, but it's also Super AMOLED versus 3.6. So to do a real camera test, we're going to take it outside, actually, because it snowed, and we're just going to go outside. I'm sick of being in the office. Okay, we're outside. Let's take a look at these cameras because, hey, I'm really sick of being in the office. So let's take a look at what these cameras are like. Both 5 megapixel cameras, 4-inch Super AMOLED display, regular 3.6-inch display. Which one's going to look the best? Obviously the AMOLED on screen, but let's take a look at what the whites look like. Let's take a look at all that. There's snow on the ground, so I'm going to take a picture in the same area with both. Let's see here. Pictures taken. Let's go back in the office and see what they look like. So here they are, Epic versus Shift. And you can see this first picture I have up right now is the Epic. And you can see, you know, colors look great right there. The grass is green. And again, this was shot in kind of a dark area, but you can still see the texture around the ice. You can see the snow, see the color here, and the grass as well. So that's that on the Epic. Let's take a look at the Shift. Good picture, don't get me wrong. Good for a 5 megapixel camera. But the grass isn't as green, you can tell there, it's kind of a blur. And the ice, to me, it's a little bit darker and harder to make out versus the snow, so you can't really see the distinct difference between the two, whereas on this one, you can. The picture's a little bit brighter. So overall, I'd give the edge to the Epic 4G, not by a tremendous amount, but you can see the colors, you know, richer colors. The snow and the ice are pretty distinguished, and overall, it's a better picture. Okay, quadrant standard, speed test, and then we call it a day. So let's run the full benchmark on both of these. You know, I've been pretty pleased with call quality. I used this one at CES, and I used this one over the past couple of weeks, and I actually reviewed it a couple of months back. Both are fantastic. The Sprint network works well, not just in the Charlotte metro area, but in most places I've been, you know, with it. New York, Dallas, San Francisco, Tampa, and a couple of other places. I've been pretty impressed with the speeds. The data speeds, they go in and out, particularly in the Charlotte metro area, which we'll talk about in a minute at the speed test. But call quality's been good. I took it to a dead spot, and both of these to a dead spot. And actually, I think I took them to the same dead spot. This one a couple of months ago, and the Shift a couple of days ago. It was that same spot in North Charlotte, if I remember right. And both held their own. It was a little choppy, but otherwise the call quality was pretty decent. Here's the quadrant standard. This one's been performing exceptionally well with that next generation Snapdragon processor. This one, because it's running Android 2.1, not so much. But let's take a look. Epic 4G, 948. EVO Shift, 1,467. It's a pretty marked difference between the speed test numbers, and that goes to show that just because it has an 800 megahertz processor, it can definitely kick some butt. Let's take a look at the speed test too really quickly before we have to sign off. Pull up speed test, pull up speed test. And let's see, earlier today it was trying to tell me that I was in England on this one, but it looks like this one located not Atlanta. Alright, let's begin the test on both of these, and I'm just going to tell you out of the gate, Sprint's 4G coverage has not been great in this area. You know, I have a cell site literally right beside my home office. I can see it, and it's just not performing very well. You can see 2,257 on the Shift 4G. That's much better than what I've been seeing over the past couple of days, but still 2.2 megabits per second on 4G, that's not great. 902 kilobits per second on the upload, 1,122 kilobits per second on the upload on the Epic 4G. We'll run one more test just to get an idea of what it's like. But still, not impressive speeds considering their 4G. You know, Verizon has 4G LTE that's consistently performing in this area at least 5 to 12 megabits per second on the down, about 2 to 5 or 2 to 4 here on the upload. So, you know, it's Verizon's 4G LTE, at least in the 4G department's kicking its butt. 1.6 megabits per second versus 1.7, still not great. Don't know what's going on. I've reached out to Sprint, and we'll see if I get a response. If I do, I'll be sure to share it with you. Much more coverage to come on the Epic 4G, the EVO Shift 4G, and more on PhoneDog.com. I have to crown the Epic 4G as the winner in most departments. The speed department, I have to crown it to the Shift 4G. So it depends on what you want. You want an awesome screen, want a physical QWERTY keyboard that's a little bigger, camera that's a little better, go with the Epic 4G. You want something that's just a powerhouse in terms of speed, but has a smaller display, is a little bit cheaper at $149. The camera's not as good, but you want that speed. Go with the EVO Shift 4G. Much more coverage to come on both of these devices on PhoneDog.com. Be sure to like us on Facebook. We're going to give away a bunch of iPads, Galaxy Tabs, BlackBerry Playbooks starting next week. Head over to Facebook.com/PhoneDog to learn more. Follow me on Twitter as well, PhoneDog_Aaron. Thanks for watching. Keep it locked on the site for continuing coverage. We'll see you next time.